see quickly. Okay, how to connect to the database? Database is one of the part of your web application, right? In the web application, many components are there: web server, application server, and database server. So in the database server, data will store. So how you can retrieve that data to your programs through Java code? How you can connect to that database using Java code? That's what we are going to see here. So there is a JDBC API in Java. So Java JDBC API uses to connect and execute query with the database. So what it will do? You can connect and execute queries, your SQL queries, using JavaScript code. And so you can use a Java JDBC API. Okay. So why we need to use JDBC? Before JDBC, ODBC API was there to connect and execute SQL queries with the database. But ODBC API uses a ODBC driver, which is written in C language. C language is a platform dependent and unsecured. That is the reason Java is a independent programming language, right? And it has its own API, JDBC API, that uses JDBC drivers to connect between your Java code and database. So these JDBC drivers will act as a bridge between two layers. So that's why JDBC API is very popular. So API means application programming interface. It just it represents the classes and interfaces and some functionality they will write. So each API will perform some task for you. So that is the JDBC means. JDBC any API means. Okay. Now, what are the different types of drivers we have? JDBC, ODBC bridge driver, native API driver, network protocol driver, thin driver. These are the different types of drivers we have. How to connect to the database and get the data. So these are the steps you have to, 4 steps are there. Load the driver. For loading the driver, you're using class dot for name method, Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver you have to use. Connect to the database. Second step. First, you have to load the driver. Then connect to the database. Connection interface, that variable equal to driver manager dot get connection method you call and pass the parameters URL, username, and password. So you have to pass the 3 variables for this get connection method. So this method will return the connection object. So string URL equal to JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon @localhost colon port number and SID value you have to give. So this localhost is your system where the database is installed. If the database is not in your system, not in your computer, You have to give where the database is there, the database IP address, you have to pass it. So how to get the IP address of any host? You go to CMD command prompt. Okay, open the command prompt and then type IP config. So you get the IP address, the IPv6 address. So this one you can give IP address. Okay, so this is how to get the IP address. See, IPv4 address is this one. So this is how to get the IP address of your system. So what is the command? You have to give IP config. IP config, if you give, you'll get the IP address. That IP address you pass it here. If other system that database is installed, basically you are giving where the database is there and database details you are giving in this URL. Then every database has a username and password. So that you have to pass for this get connection method. That's a second step. With this step, the connection will establish between the database and your Java code. Now, on this connection, you create the statement. Statement st equal to con dot create statement method. So result set res equal to st dot execute query, and you execute the query. Select a star from EMP. Select a star from EMP. Result set res equal to st dot execute query. Select a star from EMP. So this is the table number, table name. From this table, you are fetching the data and you are storing all the table data here. So then you will use a while loop and to iterate this result object. Then this is the steps. So for each step, what is the class, what method you are using, what is the interface you are using for each step. First step, class you have to use, for name static method you will use, and you have to write the driver type. So the driver type is this one. This is the Oracle database, oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. Okay, then so we have to give second step, driver manager class, get connection method, connection interface you have to use. Third step, no class but create statement method and a statement interface or prepared statement interface, callable statement. There are three types of statements are there. How many types of statements are there? Three types of statements are there. Statement interface, prepared statement interface, callable statement interface. Sir, what is the difference between all these three statements? Can you give me an example, explanation, right? So statement is used to create a simple statements like this. Statement interface, that variable equal to con dot create statement. This simple SQL queries, if you want to execute, you can use this simple statement interface. So prepared statement is mainly going to help you preventing the SQL injection attacks. SQL injection attacks means basically the hijackers will be, right? Hackers, what they will do, they will attack on the database to get the data, to steal the data. So what this, if you use a prepared statement, any special characters they are giving, and that will be escaped automatically. So basically security will be there if you use a prepared statement. And also prepared statement allows you to execute a dynamic SQL queries with the parameter inputs. You can give the input data to your SQL queries at runtime. That's another advantage with the prepared statement. But what about callable statement? Callable statement is used to execute a stored procedures. Bigger SQL programs, if you want to execute, you will use a callable statement. For a simple one, you can use a statement interface. That's enough. Statement interface is enough. Okay. Then let me show you the program. But where all these classes, interfaces are available? Java.SQL package, Which package you can find all of them? Java.SQL package, you can find all of them. So this is the one. So public class Oracle JDBC example program I have written, and series public static void main method. I'm writing all the code. String URL equal to JDBC : Oracle : thin : localhost : port number. Always while installing the database in your system, you can change your port number, and the SID, system identification name, you can change whenever you want. Not whenever, while installation time. Installing the database time, you can give all this property. Or where you will get all this installation directory, you will get all these values. And you're creating a object for properties class, because I want to represent a user and password, and that's why I'm using a properties class object. Properties props equal to new properties. Props dot set property user Scott. Props dot set property password Tiger. So then say try catch block we are using try. So I told you to close the database connections, you will use a try catch finally blocks. That I'm using a try catch blocks. So first step, load the driver class dot for same code I'm writing in the program wise. Class dot for name, and this is the Oracle driver type. Fixed. This driver type is fixed for Oracle database. Creating connection to the Oracle database using JDBC. So connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection method URL comma this properties you are passing. So URL is a variable in the top. So this is a variable. That variable I am passing for this method. And the props is the username password. This object contains username password. So that props object I am passing here. Then I'm just connection established with this second step. Connection is established in this second step. String SQL equal to select sysdate as current day from dual. This is the one. And third step, prepared statement, pre-statement equal to con dot prepared statement of you're passing that SQL statement for this. So this is a method. Prepare statement is a method because I'm using a prepared statement. I'm not using a statement interface. Now I'm using a prepared statement interface. I'm passing this. So con dot prepare statement. I'm passing this SQL query. This SQL queries you have to prepare. So you have to write the SQL queries for your database, how to fetch the data, what data you want, you have to fetch it. So result set, result equal to pre-statement dot execute query method, you write it. So while result dot next method. So this result I'm iterating. So current date from Oracle. So result dot get string current day. I'm fetching the current day basically from dual table. So then close the try block, close the catch block. Catch block starts here. This is the catch block starts here. SQL exception. SQL exception is secret exception. And then e.print stack trace and close the catch block. Then finally block started. See, con dot close method, result dot close method. See the connection you're closing. So then, for example, suppose it failed here after creating the connection, it failed here. Then the connection resource is there in the memory, right? It is waste of memory. That's why you are closing you call the close method on the connection variable. You call the close method on the result variable so that these memories will be saved if you close it. So finally block definitely will execute, right? Without any problem. So that is the reason you have to use a try catch finally all of them you're using. So this is how you can handle the JDBC connections, the program you have to